Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Carroll Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. My name is Kimberly Tiefenthaler, Executive Director of the Carroll Chamber of Commerce and the Carroll County Growth Partnership. We are excited to bring you this candidate forum this evening. Before I turn tonight over to our moderator, I'd like to thank a member of our staff, Matt Miners, who has put a lot of work in tonight's forum. And also, I'd like to thank our legislative committee from the Carroll Chamber of Commerce. They give a lot of volunteer hours towards this. And I'm not going to speak very long. I have a very easy part of this tonight. I'm going to listen, just like you. But I'm going to turn this over to someone that needs very little introduction this evening. Trish Roberts, Development Director from St. Anthony's Regional Hospital. Trish, thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. We are indeed pleased to bring you our local and state candidates this evening that will be on the ballot on Tuesday, November 8th. And really our purpose tonight is to help all of you get to know them better and give them an opportunity to present their views on issues that are important to Carroll area citizens. And so we certainly want to thank all of the candidates who have joined us this evening. We have several other who are unopposed, and they'll be making some comments, but we appreciate all of you being here. We appreciate all of you who are in attendance, and we appreciate all who are listening via KCIM 1380, 95.1 FM, and then on the KCIM Carroll Broadcasting social media outlets. So I think without any further ado, except for my sincere appreciation also to Matt Miners, who does a wonderful job keeping this organized for all of us, we are going to go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to do this evening is we are going to allow our unopposed candidates to each give a 2-minute opening statement. So we will begin this evening with Brian Best, candidate for the House District 11, which includes Carroll County, Audubon County, the southeast part of Shelby County, and the northeast part of Pottawatomie County. So without any further ado, Brian Best.
Thank you. Hello to all that are attending tonight's forum and to those at home listening. I want to thank the Chamber for putting this together tonight. It's been a pleasure representing District 12 in Des Moines for the past 8 years. When the legislature goes into session in January, my district will change slightly. I will continue to represent Carroll and Audubon County. I will no longer be representing Crawford County. I will have part of Shelby and Pottawatomie, including the town of Avoca. During the past 2 years, the Iowa Republican Caucus has worked hard to make Iowa a more tax-friendly state. The House and Senate worked with Governor Reynolds to do just that. I am proud to tell you that we were able to lower the income tax rate to between 4.4% to 6.6% in fiscal year 2023. And although taxpayers will be paying a 3.9 flat tax by the year 2026, Iowa's income tax rate will be the 4th lowest of all the states that charge income tax. We were also able to eliminate retirement income tax completely. My committee assignments in the legislature are agriculture, labor, commerce, and I am the chair of transportation. All representatives and senators in the legislature find their niche after a couple of years. My niches have been floor managing bills that have impact on rural Iowa. I have been working on legislation that helps small rural pharmacies survive in a time when unfair and very unethical practices are taken by the big pharmacy benefit managers that control the market and oftentimes give subscribers no choice to stay local, requiring them to receive medications through the mail. I also remain active in helping community colleges to do what they do best, training up our kids. We need more electricians, plumbers, welders, carpenters, diesel mechanics, and healthcare workers in Iowa. Our community colleges can help in these areas more than any other entities. Rural Iowa needs more welders and fewer philosophers. I want to thank the voters for allowing me the great honor of being your representative in Des Moines. I will continue to work hard for rural Iowa, and I would appreciate your vote on November 8th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next unopposed candidate this evening is Stephanie Hausman, She is currently supervisor in District 4, which includes the townships of Glidden, Richland, Union, Newton, Willie, City, and part of Grant. Stephanie Hausman.
Thank you, Tricia. Good evening. It seems like yesterday, it was October 10th, 2018. I was standing here for the first time, nervously asking you for your vote. These last 4 years, I've had some extraordinary experiences. I have learned so much about local government and continue to learn something new every week. We have faced and overcame many challenges, and we have many projects on the horizon these next few years. I am very passionate about Carroll County. I love where I am from, and I am blessed to be able to raise my family here. I would like to thank every resident of Carroll County for allowing me to serve these past 4 years, and I would be honored for your vote to serve the next 4 years. I would also like to thank Carroll County employees, department heads, elected officials, for guiding and teaching me the everyday activities, the behind-the-scene things that go on. Continuous learning creates the strongest leaders. My hope is with me running, we'll encourage other young leaders to step up and volunteer in some capacity to give back to Carroll County. We are the next generation to continue the successful path of Carroll County. We are truly fortunate to live in such a wonderful community and are blessed to live in the great state of Iowa. Thank you, and I would appreciate your vote. Stephanie Hausman.
Thank you. The next candidate that you will hear from is Lisa Wagner, and Lisa currently serves as a Carroll County Treasurer.
Okay, a little bit about myself. I married my high school sweetheart, John Wagner, and we have 4 children, Alex, Melissa, Madeline, and Simon. I'm in my 30th year in the treasurer's office working with some amazing former treasurers who have given me a lot of experience and qualified me to be a candidate for this position. Rules, regulations, and added services may have changed over the years, but the obligation to be the best provided quality customer service has stayed the same. Since becoming the treasurer, I have continued using the scheduled appointments for driver's license issuance. When the treasurer's office first took over issuing driver's license, we had lots of people standing in lines. Because of COVID, we went to appointments. We continue to use appointments because people aren't standing in line. The customers appreciate that. But we won't turn someone away if they're a walk-in. They just may have to wait a bit if someone's appointment is there first. A few things I'd like to work on the future is how we archive our records. And I'd also like to do a wellness management for my committee. I would also like to thank my staff. They are hardworking and dedicated. Brooke, Rosanna, Casey, Pat, Danielle, and Megan do amazing jobs. A title can be difficult, taxes can be complicated, driver's license requirements intense, and even the driver's license test is challenging. What we do isn't done without being unseen. I appreciate them all, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final unopposed candidate this evening is John Worden, who currently serves as Carroll County Attorney.
Thank you, Trish. Thank you for the chamber, KCIM, for running this. I am looking forward to the next 4 years as much as I have enjoyed the last 24, I think. When you become a official of government, you take an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and I take that very seriously. And I want to touch on something about constitutional rights and our Declaration of Independence and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There is something going on in this country right now that I don't think most people understand the severity. We have very few murders. The last 2 murders, one person was stomped to death, the other person with a knife. We had a serious injury case a few years ago where a gentleman stabbed his ex-girlfriend with a sword. We've had very, very few shootings, a couple of murder-suicides, but I've never had a gun injury case or a gun murder case. Yet, the headlines are about people who want to take guns away from law-abiding people. I don't get it. I tell you what I do get. We've had 2 young people die of fentanyl in this town. And if you think it's fun to sit down and explain to a parent why their child is dead from having taken a pill that looks like a prescription pill where there's no consumer product safety. Fentanyl is so deadly. When you get a colonoscopy, and there's a few people in the crowd that can relate to that, along with me, they give you like 4 micrograms, 4 millionth of a gram. 28 grams, about the size of a silver dollar. 4 micrograms put you under for a medical procedure. There's no consumer product safety in Mexico where they make these pills. It's flooding across the border, and if we don't get this border under control, you will see a very different Carroll County. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you to all of our unopposed candidates. And at this time, I would like to first begin with introduction of our candidates who are in races with opposition. And I'm going to begin at the end of the table closest to me. And running for county recorder are Susie Bowles and Ashton Whitrock. The center 2 seats running for State Senate District 6, which is Carroll, Audubon, Shelby, Crawford, Ida, and a northeast portion of Potawatomi County. Our 2 candidates are David Davis and Jason Schultz. And running for County Supervisor, District 2, which are the townships of Wheatland, Neast, Sheridan, Jasper, the north part of Maple River, and the north part of Grant, are Dean Shetler and Mike Anderson. So at this time, we are going to begin, and we're going to allow each of our candidates to give a 1-minute opening statement. And for the county recorder race, we are going to begin with Ashton Whitrock.
Hi there. I was born and raised in Carroll County, graduated from Kemper, went on to earn a bachelor's degree from Buena Vista University. I've been employed with Carroll County for over 11 years now, and until I was elected recorder, I didn't realize how beneficial it was to have spent time working in the auditor's office and the county attorney's office. A few of my first-term accomplishments include transitioning to a new computer software which allow for better efficiency and better integration among offices. I completed a 2-year program that allowed me to earn the title of Certified Recorder. This training ensures I stay up to date with ever-changing legislation and allows for best practices in office management. My greatest accomplishment was digitizing over 356,000 pages of land records using zero county tax dollars. I have successfully led the recorder's office, all while representing Carroll County on a state and local level. I was elected president of the District 1 Recorders Association. I sit on several boards, including a policy committee, legislative committee, and I mentor the New Tama County Recorder. I am the strongest candidate to continue in this position because of my background with real estate, experience with law, and conservative values.
Thank you. And next we have in the race for county recorder, Susie.
Good evening. I am a lifelong Carroll County resident with a strong dedication to my community. Carroll County Recorder is a position I have worked for the last 4.5 years. What makes me most qualified to hold this position is my work ethic and mostly my dedication to the people of Carroll County. When Ashton won the election in 2018, I was an deputy recorder. With only 8 months experience, I was expected to train my then coming boss. We lost a lot of knowledge when that happened. That was a lot of weight on my shoulders.
But I took that, and with Sarah's help, we trained Ashton by day, and whatever didn't get accomplished during the day, I stayed and I completed at night, because Carroll County deserves that. When we switched computer systems, I helped Ashton and was instrumental in the software, helping the software programmers know what our needs were. During our recent scanning project, Sarah and Ashton and I all worked together to do what needed to be done before those scanners arrived. Daily, I'm working hard to parse legal descriptions to make it easier to find documents online, and in the last 2.5 years, I have made this a tireless effort. I am project-oriented, I'm focused, I'm goal-minded, and I take pride in being knowledgeable and able to help customers with all of their needs.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the technical crew to come change these batteries quick. In our race for state senate, we'll first hear from David Davis.
My name is David Davis, and I am a candidate for state senate. About my background, I served in the United States Army, the Iowa Army National Guard, the Army Reserves, and back on active duty from 1985 to 2012. After that, I became a over-the-road truck driver, and I visited most of the country, and I've also visited most of the state of Iowa. And I'm looking at how the other two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, I mean, I don't know my opponent here very well. Seems like a nice person, but I figure that maybe since I'm running as a libertarian, I can have a different view on what the state legislature should be doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next in the race for state senate, Jason Schultz.
Thank you. My name is Jason Schultz. I'm a small farmer in northwest Crawford County, live in Schleswig with my beautiful wife, Amy. My daughter's 22-year-old daughter, Josie, and 19-year-old Cameron are in college right now. Currently, I am the sitting senator for the Senate district that includes Ida, Crawford, Shelby, Monona, and Harrison. I've been in the Senate for 8 years. Currently the chair of the Commerce Committee. I sit on the Judiciary Committee, State Government, Labor, and Ways and Means. And through all of that, freedom is the underlying premise. You get to keep more of your money. You get to keep more of your freedom. You get to keep more of your guns, your access to religion. And when people tell you you need to stay in your house and not go out into the public, I fight for you to go out and be a free American. I bring experience from serving in the House and in the Senate. I've worked my way through building relationships to become a player in the caucus that decides the future of Iowa. We're cutting your taxes, we're deregulating, and we are putting more freedom back in your hands. I'm asking for your vote.
Thank you. For Supervisor.
Take these appointments very seriously. That's what your expectations are of me as your county supervisor. When regional board members fail to show up for regular board meetings, some meetings then fail to reach a quorum. The board then cannot conduct any business. I think my supervisor I think my supervisor board colleagues would agree this happens more than it should. When it looks like meetings can't achieve a quorum, they are oftentimes rescheduled or completely canceled. The Carroll County Board of Supervisors meets every Monday morning at 9 o'clock when there is an agenda. This is not always convenient, but I will tell you that this Board of Supervisors takes their duty to the county very seriously. They show up for work and get the work done. I take your expectations seriously as well. I will show up for work, and I'll get work done.
Thank you. County Supervisor candidate, Mike Anderson.
Hi there. For the people that don't know me, I'm Mike Anderson. I'm 36 years old, married to my beautiful wife, Danny, and we have 3 kids. I grew up in Arcadia, Iowa, moved to Carroll. I was born in Arcadia, Iowa, moved to Carroll, grew up there, went to school for 2 years, came back, and now we reside in the acreage north of Maple River with a Breda address. In 2009, I started a trucking company, and with 15 trucks on the road roughly, and in 2016, we started a spray foam insulation business. In 2020, we opened up a truck wash, and I'm running for supervisor to be a voice for the people and run a fiscal responsible budget. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So at this time, we are going to begin our questions, and they have been prepared. You all have an opportunity that if you have a question that you would like to ask, you can write that down. John Brocklesby is our chief runner in charge of getting the questions to the front of the room. If you put up your hand, he will get your question and get it to the front of the room. And just so that you're all aware, we have drawn names ahead of time as for the order of introductions and who will answer the questions in an alternating manner. So we will get started this evening. Our first question this evening is going to be in the county recorder race. And so, Ashton Whitrock, you're going to be first this time. Susie, you'll be second. The first question is, what are the most critical skills needed to be a successful recorder, and describe how you have demonstrated that you possess the needed skills? So, Ashton.
I have spent my first term modernizing the office, the new software program, digitizing over 356,000 pages of documents. I feel like I took a huge step my first term. I've spent time in the Carroll County Attorney's Office and the Real Estate Deputy Auditor. This all makes me familiar with law and well-rounded as far as real estate goes. I'm very active in the Recorders Association, the president of District 1. I'm on a legislative liaison board. I'm on a standards subcommittee board, and I'm a mentor to the new Tama County Recorder. These all show to me that I was well-rounded in for this position.
Thank you. Susie Bowles, the same question.
As far as the skills that I think are most important to this office, I think first and foremost has to be accuracy. Anybody that knows our office and the jobs that we do know that accuracy has to be number one. Not only do those documents have to be meet the recording standards, but they have to be recorded correctly to be found back in the future. When it comes to the vital records or the DNR, those are all things that if we aren't knowledgeable to do the things right the first time, there's going to be an issue. I don't want to see anybody, especially with the DNR, getting penalties because we didn't do something correct. So I think accuracy has to be number one. And anybody that knows me knows how much of a perfectionist I am. I'm one of those weird people that like to proofread, and I am perfect for the job in that respect. The other thing I think is important is, like I said, referred to before with knowledge base. I will say that there is so much to learn, and every day we're learning something new. But it is our job that when you come in that office that we know what you need or where to find that answer. Ideally, we should know what you need the first time. I especially love working with the hunters because anybody that knows a hunter knows their sport. When they come in, I think I've learned more from them than I learned from the DNR. So I really appreciate those people.
Thank you. And one reminder, let's try to keep as close to that bell going off as possible. So thank you. Okay, in the county supervisor race, Dean Shetler will answer the question first this time around, and Mike Anderson will be second. So the question is, Some voters may not realize the broad scope of issues supervisors must decide upon or oversee. Aside from issues related to road, infrastructure, mental health, or tax collection, what are the biggest issues you feel the board must tackle in the next few years? So Dean Shetler, you go first. Exclusive of road infrastructure, mental health, tax collection.
Well, that pretty much hits a lot of them. You know, I mean, that's kind of what we deal with. But, you know, I will just say, it was kind of referring to my opening statements, that all the supervisors sit on probably 5 to 7 committees. I sit on the Conservation Board. I'm the vice chair of Region 5 Hazmat Board. I'm on the 911 EMA Board, member of the Carroll County Board of Health. I'm on the East-West Nishnabotna Water Management Authority and the treasurer for the North Raccoon Watershed Management Coalition. You know, these are a lot of things. This is the stuff that takes up the time. And these are the meetings that all supervisors have to go to. As far as one item that I would think that that the supervisors will be faced with going forward, I mean, it's pretty hard to get around secondary roads and taxation, because that's basically, I mean, that is a lot of what we govern.
Thank you. Mike Anderson, the same question.
Something that I see in the near future is obviously the courthouse. They're getting bids right now for HVAC and to update some of the courthouse. That's going to be a big thing on the agenda right away. I also see some issues will be, eventually is going to be enough money on the budget for as equipment goes up and wages go up, and everything just keeps increasing for money going out to make sure there's enough coming in, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go on over to the state Senate candidates, and David Davis will be the first to answer. Jason Schultz, you will be second. The question is, much investment has been made by the state to help attract and retain workers, including funds for attractions, tax cuts, training dollars, high-speed internet, and marketing to specific populations such as urban dwellers or veterans. Discuss with us how state government can further aid in worker recruitment. David.
Well, one thing we can do is look at what regulations are hindering business from being able to hire more workers. Because that's one thing that happens. Businesses, I mean, they're doing good with taxes, but, you know, if there's regulations in place, businesses aren't going to come to the state and hire workers. Find out what jobs are necessary for the 21st century and beyond. I mean, we're 22 years in, find out what jobs are available to, you know, that people would want to come to Iowa and work in.
Thank you. Jason Schultz, the same question.
Thank you. The team's been working on this for the last few years, or several years. You really never let off. But when you let people keep the money that they earn, we've been cutting taxes. That's a big one. Another thing we need to do is stop paying people to stay at home when they're either unemployed or not looking for ways to work. So I actually ran the bill that reformed our unemployment system this last session, that put people on notice that you can get a job. We've got 40,000 people unemployed, and we've got 80,000 jobs, and I think that number is actually over 100,000 now. So we're going to remove the incentive to stay home. My personal project that I've been working on would be a welfare reform bill that I've been working on for 4 or 5 years. Can't quite get it through the other chamber, but I think we're looking at it working this year. But that would actually use real-time data systems to follow people's actions, their purchases, and make sure that they qualify for welfare in the first place. The amount of fraud that happens in unemployment and welfare is a reason not to go to work, and we're trying to take that away.
Thank you. Okay, and just a reminder, we are on the radio this evening, and we thank Carroll Broadcasting here in Carroll, Iowa, for broadcasting on 1380 KCIM and 95.1 FM. The next question will be directed in the recorder's race. And the question is, Susie, you will begin first this time, and Ashton, you will go second. The question is, where do you see gaps in service, and how will you address those issues?
You know, I don't see a lot for gaps in service, mostly because I think we all work hard to be knowledgeable across all the areas that we deal with. But I do see gaps, I think, with communication, and I feel like I know that this is a new day and age. I know that texting and email and those kinds of things are kind of taking over the world, but when you work in the business that we do, you cannot replace face-to-face conversation with that. And I think communication has to improve. I think that one area that there may be a gap is improving relationships between the offices on the first floor. We are all friends, we all get along, but when it comes to business, I think we can all agree that there are a lot of things that someone will call and ask, and we look at each other like, I don't know who's the best to answer this question. So I think that we can do a better job internally of communicating amongst the offices. We all have to work together. What comes in our office as a deed travels through all 3 of the other offices at some point in time, and we have to get better at that.
Thank you. Ashton.
Can I bug you to repeat the question, please?
Yes, you may. Where do you see gaps in service, and how will you address these issues?
One area where I believe we may have a gap is something that I like to work forward to my next term. It's an option for an online payment for the DNR and vital records. This would have been done already if I had the power to do it unilaterally. However, it is something that I'm working on with the Iowa Recorders Association and our partners at the state level. My goal is to make it easier to do business with the county, and I hope to have an online payment option for these services my second term.
Thank you. Okay, in the county supervisor race, and this time we will begin with Mike, and Dean, you will have the second opportunity to answer. This is related to the budget. If left to your sole discretion, which items in the county budget might you strip or eliminate? Mike.
There's a few things that I don't know if I would eliminate, but I would probably lower a few things that we spend on. I'm not very knowledgeable with the budget because I'm not making the budget, but I would say there's some of them like the CADC. I would probably I would like to lower a little bit, or meet with them and wonder where that money's going, and maybe they're using all of it. It's things like that I would like to dig deeper and find out why we're spending and where we're spending that, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dean.
So it was what we're going to strip from the budget?
If left to your sole discretion, which items in the county budget might you strip or eliminate?
Well, I think going back to what the supervisors have been doing for years and years, I think that the need is there for pretty much all that we fund. You can talk about CADC, and I think that has been in the past kind of a hot button, but I believe that we do need to fund CADC because they are the economic development portion of the Board of Supervisors. And if they can increase even just a little bit of retail energy, and increase our local option sales tax, that's a benefit to Carroll County. We rely on that local option sales tax. It's a benefit. And so I don't know if there's anything I would actually strip. I think we do a pretty good job of having our departments do the best they can to deliver a good budget, their budgets to the board.
Thank you. Okay, in the race for state senate, we do have a question about rural Iowa. And Jason Schultz, you will go first this time. The question is, legislation in the Iowa Capitol typically seems to have a rural versus urban component. How will you make sure rural Iowa is fairly represented in Des Moines?
I actually believe I can report, and I'm happy to report that I believe that that's actually been undone recently. The governor, our governor, great governor, Kim Reynolds, has been focusing on rural Iowa. The decisions made in the Senate, I can't speak for the House because I'm not there, but their actions have been mirroring the Senate, have actually been focusing on rural issues, anything from housing credits to making sure that DOT services are out in this area. Economic development and other tax benefits have been moved out to rural Iowa. Anytime we have a program that is meant to be the economic development program, the proportion that must go to counties under a certain population, which guarantees it goes out to rural Iowa, is higher. I believe we have a trifecta right now that's addressing rural Iowa currently. So I don't believe that's actually an accurate statement, but we will continue to work on that because it is apparently the perception. So we're going to work on that.
Thank you. And David.
Well, if what Jason Schultz says is true, then I would probably make sure that anything that would benefit urban doesn't do it at the expense of rural Iowa. And, and vice versa. Make sure that rural Iowa gets taken care of too, because that's, it's fair. I mean, rural Iowa pays taxes just like urban Iowa does, so we got to make sure that they're not being taken advantage of in that situation.
Thank you. We're going to come back down on this end of the table to our two candidates for county recorder. We have one question slightly different for each of you, but also related. This time around, Ashton will answer first, and Susie will answer second. And the question is, for you, Ashton, how have you made a difference as county recorder?
I have spent my first term modernizing the office, the new software program, digitizing records, updating the software program. I feel this was a huge step in the right direction. I have conservative values. I was able to scan those documents by getting a grant using 0 county tax dollars. We used the ARPA fund grant, the American Rescue Plan grant. It was a COVID type grant that the county received. And I was able to go to the supervisors and get some of that money to use for digitizing those records. That was a several $100,000 cost savings to the county. So I would say my conservative values in this position are highly important.
Thank you. And Susie, your question is slightly different. How will you make a difference if you are elected county recorder?
If I'm elected county recorder, I am going to make a difference, number one, by ensuring that we are at least 2 deep in training on all aspects of our office. We are not currently that way, and all of us know not one of us is guaranteed tomorrow, and that is not in the county's best interest. So first and foremost, that is what I intend to do, is make sure that no matter what happens, if I am the recorder, that someone can walk in that office and not be overwhelmed by anything and be confident knowing they have the tools and they know what they need to do. The other thing that I want to do is I want to get active with the Iowa Recorders Association because it's important for us to have a voice at the state level. And that is highly important for me.
Thank you. Thank you. And on to the county supervisor race. This time around, Dean, you will go first, and Mike, you will go second. Dean, please list 3 accomplishments that you have made on the board and that you feel that you were critical in making happen.
Well, I guess probably one of the first things that when I got on the board, I was on the Region 5 Hazmat and board in Fort Dodge. And there's 9 counties. One of the issues that I saw that was glaring was that the inequity between the contribution that Carroll County gives to the region. Us being the second largest county, we would pay the second highest contribution. Yet Webster County has so much industry up there that they just have an overwhelming amount of need for Region 5 Hazmat. But we get stiffed for the second highest. Second, I'll just touch on them, I guess. I would say that a lot of the support that I gave to the Conservation Board over the years in a lot of things that they've accomplished out there, I would think that would have to be a second. And
I think we need to stop it there, but thank you. Thank you. And Mike, should you be elected, what do you plan to achieve to demonstrate to the voter your success as a supervisor 4 years from now?
I'm determined, I guess. And like I told you earlier, we've started 4 businesses now, or started 3 and bought another one. So I don't have no grass growing underneath my feet. I've already done ride-alongs with the sheriffs. I want to know where the money's going, why we're spending so much on each thing. I will dig into everything. I'm that kind of person. I'm going to figure out what we're doing with it and why we're spending it. I want to run that budget as good as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to the state senate race. And this time around, Jason, you'll go first. Oh, sorry. David, you'll go first, and Jason, you'll go second. And I have questions from the audience. I'm going to take the liberty to combine a couple who are related. And this has to do with cutting taxes and funding priorities. And so I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of each. With cutting taxes, how will we assure we have enough money for education, clean water, and so on? And Iowa rural public schools are perceived to be underfunded. And what would you do to change that? So, Jason. David. Sorry, I've got to...
Okay.
David.
Well, you brought up 2 things, public schools and clean water, and they are both important. The thing is in Iowa we spend about $10,000 per student, a little over that. The classrooms are about 25 per classroom, but the teacher isn't getting $250,000. I don't think anyone noticed that. So we got to find out where are our education dollars actually going, because the teacher isn't getting $250,000. Now on clean water, we got to find out how is the pollution getting to the water before we can solve it, because we got to say, well, we got to clean it up. Well, how is it getting polluted in the first place? And then if we figured it out, then we can probably budget for that. And in order to maintain a balanced budget, we might have to make cuts in other areas that might not be as essential.
Thank you. And now, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The undeniable truth of life is when you cut taxes, you get more revenue. So you go ahead, you cut taxes. Every single time we've done it 3 times since 2018, we get more revenue the following year. We conservatively hold on to the budget, make sure that we allow the private sector, the private economy to grow faster than the public budget. And by doing that, you end up with more revenue than you projected. So you've always got that revenue there. Now, as far as underfunding education and other priorities, I mean, we've put more money into education. I just simply disagree that we're underfunding education. We've put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of additional dollars into K-12 education, which handles well more than half of our general fund budget. I would agree it's not making it to the teachers. I think the level of administration is getting bloated. I think the additional personnel outside of the classroom is probably growing, but cutting taxes is always good.
Thank you. Thank you. And next, we will go back to the 2 candidates for county recorder. And the question that I have will first be answered by Susie and then Ashton. And the question is, what challenges lie ahead for the recorder's office?
So I see some challenges, as Ashton referred to earlier, with getting up to speed in some respects. The problem with what we have done all of these years is we have a lot of paper things that take up a lot of space, number one, but people need access to these in other ways. And while we do have all of those documents scanned now we have to do the hard part of getting those to the point where you can view them. And that's a huge undertaking. As I said earlier, I've been parsing documents for 2 years, trying to get to the legal descriptions to the point where they are more accessible or easier to find, I should say, online. I'm nowhere near to the tip of the iceberg on that 90-some thousand documents I've already done. So I think that it's going to have to be a really hard focus in the office for a long time to make sure that everyone can view these documents from home should they need to.
Thank you. And Ashton.
Something I hear on occasion from concerned citizen is the idea of property fraud. There are companies that sell services that allow you to track this. I don't tell people what to spend their money on, but I do inform them that Iowa is an abstracting state. Therefore, we have some natural checks and balances in our system where other states do not. Iowa is very unique in this. To my knowledge, there has not been a single case of property fraud in Iowa. However, I have been looking at some options to potentially provide this service to residents, hopefully free of charge, in the event that criminals do find a way to circumvent our process causing property fraud in Iowa.
Thank you. I just want to make a comment again that we certainly appreciate the questions from the audience. They are all worthy, and I will tell you that we will not have enough time this evening to get to all of them, but I'm trying to collect and ask a smattering in all of the different areas. So we're going to go on. We're going to move on to the county supervisor race. And this time around, Mike, you will go first, and Dean, you will go second. And the question is from the public. It is related to Carroll County Public Health. And the question is, I understand that in July, the county took over full control of Carroll County Public Health. Can you tell me what the mission and goals of the county public health is going forward? If we were to have another pandemic, as we did with COVID, what would your responsibility be to the Carroll County residents? And so this time around, Mike, you're going first.
All right. First of all, the Board of Supervisors doesn't vote on the Board of Health. They nominate one candidate to sit on that board. If I was on that board, I guess I can't answer that. There's a lot of people on that board that are way more intelligent than me in public health. I know one thing I would do or wouldn't do or would have done is if it was the right move, I would have took my time and and made sure that we had all of our ducks in a row. And as of last week, you know, we were storing vaccine in a place that doesn't have a backup generator. There's some big faults going on there, and I don't know where that fell through at, but I would make sure our ducks in a row. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dean?
Yeah, I would think that, you know, I think when we got into COVID, we were everybody was kind of walking in the dark. I think we're in a better place right now because we have more of a cohesive group that works with IDPH more closely. We work with other, the Board of Health and Public Health Nurse works more with other counties. We are proceeding with writing grants and getting more funding. I got to go back to, you know, when the COVID was going on, there was the thing called contact tracing, and if that the original public health department, when it was at St. Anthony's, they could not get it done. The county went with IDPH, and eventually they couldn't get it done. The Carroll County Board of Health basically took control of it, and we made things happen. We hired individuals that would do the contact tracing. So I think that is just an example of pulling together the county people that we already have. We already have good people that can do this.
And we're going to have to end there. Thank you. Thank you. So our next question from the audience is going to go to our state Senate candidates. This time around, we are starting with Jason and then David. And the question is, if you are faced with the decision to vote for or against a woman's right to choose, what life experiences will you draw on to make your decision? Jason.
I have been in that spot to vote, and I am profoundly pro-life. I would draw upon the Christian influences of growing up in the church and understanding that God knew us while we were forming in the womb. I would go back to what the medical sources that up until not all that long ago understood that life began at conception and that there was an actual event of a beginning of life. And I would just look at the culture around us currently who seem to be using misinformation to make it sound as if restricting killing a child in the womb is wrong. From what I've heard of people who are proponents of abortion, it makes no sense to me. So just watching the environment around me is an influence to make me more pro-life.
Thank you. And David.
Okay. I am personally pro-life. However, seeing what's going on in Washington, how they're putting pressures on investigating women's health clinics that don't do abortions and wanting to revoke doctors' medical licenses, I'll make an offer. A woman will have a right. I would consider a woman having a right to choose up to 18 weeks. However, you can't revoke your doctor's license if they refuse to perform an abortion, and you can't shut down women's health clinics that don't do abortions. And you can't shut down hospitals that don't do abortions.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to shake it up just a little bit. We're going to ask the same question of everybody. We will go in the order as drawn, however. So the question is, do you support your party's platform? If not, what part do you have an issue with? And so we're going to ask in the recorder's race, we're going to ask that first to Ashton and then Susie.
Can you say it one more time?
Yes. Do you support your party's platform? And if not, what part do you have an issue with?
I am running as a Republican. I do support my party's platform, pro-life, conservative values, gun rights. Yes, yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. And Susie?
I'm a Democrat who definitely supports my party's platforms. However, I want to encourage people in these local elections to look beyond the party. As a recorder, my job would be to uphold the Iowa Code, to follow the rules set forth by the Iowa Department of Public Health and the Iowa DNR. None of those things have anything to do with whether I'm a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. I am running this race as a Democrat who wants to do the best for Carroll County and every member in it. That has nothing to do with the political party, given my position.
Thank you. For our county supervisor candidates, this time around, Dean will answer first, and then Mike. Dean.
Well, if the question is, am I pro-life? Yes. You know, I maybe break from my party there if that's what everyone wants to think. But I kind of side with Susie a little bit with that I'm doing the best job I can for Carroll County in spite of whether I'm a Democrat or a Republican. I've had a lot of people talking to individuals and constituents, and they say, Dean, you remind me more of a Republican than you do a Democrat in my fiscal responsibility to taxes and to the county. There hasn't been very many times that a lot of supervisors have disagreed with the budget, but I disagreed with it twice because I did not think the spending was appropriate, and I did not vote on the budget. It was 4-1. I was the only one that did not think that we had a budget that was acceptable for the taxpayers of Carroll County.
Thank you. And our two candidates for state senate, this time around, we start with David. Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. Mike Anderson, you get to answer.
I'm a Republican, love the Second Amendment, pro-life, back the blue. That's all I need to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now, David, you get to speak.
Yep. I'm a libertarian, and I tend to support my party's platform almost 100%. I don't feel that we should necessarily get rid of qualified immunity, but I definitely support reforms in qualified immunity and some police reforms. Not everyone should be a police officer. So, I mean, that's probably the only disagreement I have with my party's platform.
And Jason.
I am 100% in favor of, I can't think of anything in the Republican platform I don't like. I've looked at both sides, both platforms and both ideologies. And I've looked at both. I've heard the arguments on the Senate floor. And it's just the Republican platform is parallel to a recipe for a successful country and a republic. Things go well when you do things and follow a conservative formula where you expect people to work, support themselves, and take care of themselves and obey the rule of law. If somebody thinks that the other ideology is better, I would look at the Democrat trifecta we have in Washington, D.C., and how fast the country has gone downhill in only less than 2 years. And I would hold up a Republican trifecta to that anytime.
Thank you. And we have another question for our state senate candidates. This time, Jason, you will get to go first, and then David. And this is related to the child care challenges that we face. Child care is a crisis in many communities. Aside from finding workers, razor-thin margins threaten this industry upon whom our employers and therefore our local economy depend. What legislation would you introduce or support to help expand daycare options in rural Iowa? And help those which already exist?
We've already, I need to talk closer to it. We've already supported a lot of pieces of legislation that are allowing more opportunities out into rural Iowa. I would point out Schleswig, just a block away from my house, and it was the brainchild of my next door neighbor. Schleswig has a brand new daycare, just opened, Under the Sun Daycare, and it was done with private, charitable, and Iowa grants. So we have grants out there to make this happen already. We have tried to lower the regulation, the state regulation on the local child care entity also, because realize when you overregulate a daycare center beyond basic safety, you're also making it harder and more expensive for them to operate. Those costs have to go on to the parents. So once you have a solid daycare, get the state out of the way. So we have grants out there. We have assistance programs through Human Services, and we're already trying to do this, and I believe it's working in Schleswig's case right now.
Thank you. And David?
Well, Jason brought it up about regulations. We probably have to find out what regulations are preventing daycares from opening in rural Iowa. Find out what's preventing people from coming to rural Iowa to work in a daycare center. Because that's probably the two main things that are stopping daycares from opening in rural Iowa.
Thank you. Okay, on to the county supervisor race. And this time around, Dean, you will go first, and Mike, you will go second. The question is related to commitment of time. The job of supervisor goes far beyond the Monday board meetings. How much time do you plan to spend each week seeing to the county's business? Dean.
Well, and I kind of alluded to that a little bit earlier, that, and I look at this, this is an elected position. You can put the time in that you want to. It's what you're going to get back out is going to be the answer. And if you don't put any time into it, you're not going to get anything back out. The more time you put into it, the more effective you're going to be. I think one of the biggest things, and one of my old colleagues out here, Mark Beardmore, I always had a lot of respect for Mark because he would come and he would be prepared. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And I use that as a mentoring, Mark, that that is probably the most essential thing, is to be prepared, to be able to debate issues and have good discussions. Everybody needs to know what's going on. So you can spend a lot of time on it. There's a lot of time to be spent on it.
Thank you. And Mike?
We have a lot of stuff going on, and I knew that coming into this. But I live for this. I live to be busy. You can ask my wife. We didn't have TV for 7 years. There's no time to watch it, If I didn't think I had time for this, we wouldn't have purchased another business last week. I have adequate time, and I want to put all my effort into this and make what's best for the county. I'm going to live here for 20 years with my kids, and I want to do what's best for this and us and everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have another question in the county supervisor race, and Mike, you will begin this time. And this is a question related to qualities and teamwork. And the question is, what specific qualities or personal attributes do you or would you bring to the Board of Supervisors, which would help all 5 members better serve the citizens of Carroll County? So what attributes do you have that you do bring or you would bring to create teamwork among the Board of Supervisors? So Mike, you're first.
Business-minded is my biggest thing. Running businesses, knowing the numbers, stuff like that, and digging into every situation they give us. I usually try to get it down to, to the penny, figure out why it doesn't work or why it is working. And And, I'm on the Breeda Golf Course board, I'm on the Ducks Unlimited board, and just always pushing myself to make more money for them boards, new ideas, stuff like that. It always helps to have ideas and throw multiple ideas together to make sure stuff is clicking.
And Dean.
I guess, I think the biggest attribute that I can bring to the board is to just listen what everybody has to say. You may not always agree, you may agree to disagree at times, but at least listening to what they have to say could change your mind. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things I think I've picked up on while I've been a supervisor, is that everybody's got an opinion, and a lot of times their opinion's a whole lot better than mine.
Thank you. So we're going to ask the next question in the county recorder race, and we've touched on this a bit, but again, it's really about the why. And the simple question is, why do you want to be county recorder? And Susie, you'll get to go first this time.
I want to be the county recorder because I know that I am the right person for the job. I know that I am the person that Carroll County needs. I know that customer service is number one. I could sit at my desk all day and envelop myself in the computer and everything that goes on in it. But face-to-face interaction with people is number one. That's what you all want. People enjoy that when they come to the counter and you know them by name. You know what they need before they even ask. I have the knowledge base. As I said before, I trained Ashton. I learned from good people. And I know that I have what Carroll County needs. Not only do I have the knowledge base, I have the dedication, I have the commitment. I am used to juggling a bazillion tasks at the same time. If I don't sleep, I don't sleep. What's important to me is a strong Carroll County for not only myself and my family, but for all of you and your families as well. I said earlier, I'm a lifelong Carroll County resident. That was completely by choice. I even went to college here by choice.
Thank you. And Ashton.
One of the main reasons that I want to be recorder for another term here is that I've started some pretty neat projects. The digitizing project has been started. It's in the editing phase. It'll soon come to us. We have the unedited images, which we can search for you already, but we will have some time to index those. And I'd like to see that project through. The property fraud project that I've touched on earlier, I'd like to see that through. These are projects that are already started, and I think I'd like to see them through start to finish. I have conservative values, I have good leadership skills, and I think those are important to this position.
Thank you. And for our two candidates for State Senate, I have a question about transportation and infrastructure. And this time around, David, you will go first, and Jason, you will be second. So the question is, do you support four-laning of U.S. Highway 30? And if so, how can you use your office to help move this project forward? David.
Yes.
David.
I do. I'm a former truck driver, right? So yes, if possible, I would be very interested in making US 30 a four-lane highway. I mean, it's pretty much US 20 is the same way. It's 4 lanes, and it would help. It would help move goods and services, get it there quicker. So how to do it is, well, the budget. Is there money in the budget to do it? That's the only question, because concrete is not free. So have to make sure that there's money in the budget, money in a state highway fund in order to do it. So that's the only thing that's probably holding Iowa up, is making sure that make sure we don't go into debt doing it.
Thank you. And Jason.
Yes, I do support it. Highway 20, which recently opened as a 4-lane, goes across northern Ida County. So I saw firsthand as I would drive 2-lane to Fort Dodge years ago, the amount of traffic and the amount of commerce happening. And then once it opened, I saw the amount of traffic that was drawn off of the interstates, and people were crossing the northern third of Iowa on Highway 20. I believe the same benefit could happen here. How I could use my office if I am elected to do that, I've actually already been working on that, as I currently represent the Highway 30 portion through Harrison County, and Missouri Valley has been seeking a bypass. The trucks are literally shaking the Main Street buildings apart there in Missouri Valley. They're seeking a bypass. The work that I helped and talked to the DOT about, they put it in their plan, not just because of me. I just building relationships and talking to them, but that would already be work toward a 4-lane Highway 30. So I've already been working on this.
Thank you. So continuing in the topic of challenges that rural Iowans and our rural communities face, I'd like to ask our state house candidate or our state senate candidates a question about housing. And Jason Schultz, you'll go first this time, and David Davis, you'll go second. The question is, what legislation would you advocate for to help your rural communities build new and improve current housing stock?
Well, we already have tax credits in there. They can be controversial in its own, as I've actually had a forum where some people said, do you want to use my tax dollars to build their house or to buy their house? So we have some of that, but we have tax credits in place, and as I've said before, the ratio is geared toward helping rural Iowa in that, so we already have that in place. I actually believe that the secret here that a lot of people don't talk about is the demographics are an incredible challenge that I don't believe are necessarily being talked about. People are living in their homes longer, not moving them on to the next generation as they pass on, as they move to assisted living. But also, if we want to do something proactive, I think community colleges, trade schools, skilled labor courses are probably among the most important things we can do. People who go to community colleges don't move more than 60 or 70 miles away from where they went to school, typically. So if we want to have address the housing problem, if we have skilled labor, we have higher wages, we can pay more, people can move into houses that they maybe have built themselves. So.
Okay, thank you. And David?
That would be it there. The one thing we don't want to do is put in more regulations that prevent construction of new housing, because that's what's going on in California, New York, and other places, and Oregon and Washington State. They put in laws. Hey, it's good for the current homeowners, drives the price of the house up, but it doesn't help people who don't have a house, or who don't have an apartment. So that's one thing. Make sure the regulations are kept to a minimum. That's what I would do, and also find out where the demand is. Because if there's no demand, there's not going to be a new house.
Thank you. Okay, for our county supervisor candidates, we talked earlier about achievements and goals in the role of county supervisors, but I want to talk now specifically about committee assignments and responsibilities. And so this time around, Dean, you will answer first. Mike, you will answer second. So here's the question. There are many committees and boards that supervisors serve on. What current boards and committees do you serve on, and how have you made a difference? And Mike, your question will be slightly different. So Dean, you may answer first.
Okay, well, I can repeat what I said earlier. I'm on the Conservation Board. I'm Vice Chair of the Region 5 Hazmat Board. I'm on the E911 EMA Board. I'm a member of the Carroll County Board of Health. I'm on the East-West Nishnabotna Watershed Management Authority and the treasurer on the North Raccoon River Watershed Management Coalition. And so what was the second part of the question, Trish?
How have you made a difference?
Okay. So I think I think one of the biggest things that I think when we serve on these boards is that Carroll County has a presence and a voice. So you have to be there. That's the first thing. We had problems up at Region 5 Hazmat, and I ended up being the vice chair. And so we have good oversight there. And the same thing happened with the East-West, or the North Raccoon River Watershed Management Authority. The chairman was selected from Polk County, and the watershed management goes from Polk County all the way up to Palo Alto County. And I think it was determined by some who nominated me for the treasurer is that we need oversight. And I think that's the biggest thing that we should be doing on these committees and these board assignments is to have oversight. And I think our board does a very, very good job of that. They go to the meetings, they come back with information, and we know what's going on.
I'm going to have to ask you to end your answer. And we're going to go on to Mike Anderson. So Mike, should you be elected, which committees and boards would you like to serve on, and why?
I would say the number one board I'd love to serve on is conservation, just because I'm an avid hunter, love conservation. Without conservation, you don't have all the animals and everything else. And that goes kind of hand in hand with the watershed. Other than that, I guess that's the two major ones that I'd like to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have another question for the state senate candidates. And this is a simple question. What importance do you place on upholding your oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States? David, you are first this time.
Well, I take it very seriously. I mean, I served in the military in one form or another for 27 years. I was active duty for 20 years, and I was in the Guard short of 5 years, and in the Army Reserves for a little over 2 years. I just take it very seriously. I think it's very important. I mean, the Constitution, it's pretty much what keeps us together. And I mean, it's what protects all our rights, whether we realize it or not.
Thank you. And Jason Schultz, you are next.
I take that very seriously. Everything I do in the legislature has been aimed toward that goal. Whether it would be on the Judiciary Committee, making sure that the state legislature helps people have a speedy trial, making sure we have services out in the rural areas, that transportation isn't a problem there. I ran the constitutional carry bill, and for those who are Second Amendment advocates, I was instrumental in the personhood, and then we switched it to the heartbeat bill on life, because life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is not in the Constitution, but it is a directive document to that Constitution, and I believe our Constitution protects life. Everything I do is toward the Iowa and the federal, the Constitution of these United States.
Thank you. And so the last question before we go into our closing statements will be for our state senate candidates. And this time, Jason Schultz, you'll get to answer first, and David Davis will answer second. And this is related to our overall economy. As our national economy looks to be struggling, and with interest rates rising, what can you do, or what would you suggest the Iowa legislature do to continue to help the Iowa economy flourish and move forward?
Well, we are doing that currently. We did it last year, the year before that, the year before that. We're going to do it the year coming, the year after that, and the year after that. We're going to continue providing a stable environment in which businesses know that we're not going to rock the boat left and right really, really hard. We're going to hold their taxes as low as possible. We're going to try to attract employees through various means. We don't have a beach like Florida, so we're going to go ahead and cut their taxes. Make sure that they live in a safe place, because we back the blue. We're going to make Iowa, and in fact, the governor has the greatest campaign line I've ever heard, if you've heard it. In Iowa, America still works. And we're going to make sure that the American ideals still operate in Iowa, that common sense governs, and we don't have wild, woke ideas coming that like we see coming from Washington, D.C. I've offered a couple times that we should probably be ready to blow the bridges to Illinois to keep that ideology over there, but as I get older and a little more experienced, I realize there are a lot of good Illinois citizens who are good Americans who might want to escape to here. So we're going to make sure that Iowa's a place that they want to go to.
Thank you. And David Davis.
Well, the first thing, do no harm in the state legislature. They, there's they want to impose wage and price controls out of Washington. That's just only going to cause stagflation. And many people here lived through stagflation in the 1970s. I was a kid in the 1970s. You were a kid in the 1970s. Stagflation sucked. So we want to make sure that we're not doing things, the state legislature is not going to do something that'll cause or exasperate stagflation, because that, I can go to my broker and get CDs for 4% interest. I can't get that from my bank. So that kind of tells you what's going on right now.
Thank you. So at this time, we're going to begin with our closing statements, and this is the opportunity for you to share with the audience, both here and those who are listening, your final comments on why you want to serve in these respective offices. And we're going to go in the opposite order within each of the respective areas that we did with the opening statements. So, beginning with our county recorder candidates, Susie Bowles, you'll get to go first.
Carroll County, always rising above to be the best that we can be. This is why you should elect me recorder. I will work hard for you every day. I will continue to serve the people as I have for the last 4.5 years, always stepping up to answer their questions and help them accomplish what they need to do. I will not take advantage of taxpayer dollars. You pay my salary, and you deserve to see me in the office as much as the staff. The people of Carroll deserve a choice. I will be your servant.
Thank you. And Ashton Wittrock.
I am proud to say that I have our great Midwestern work ethic, and now more than ever there is a demand for strong and positive leadership to navigate through uncertain times and to be able to do more with less to carry out the services of our local government. I can confidently tell you that I will continue to stretch every penny of your taxpayers' dollars to its max potential, and I can confidently tell you that I will continue to work hard for you as your county recorder. I appreciate you letting me take up some of your valued time this evening, and I would appreciate your vote on November 8th.
Thank you. And so those were our candidates for county recorder. Our two candidates for State Senate, District 6, are Jason Schultz and David Davies. Jason, you'll get to go first.
Okay, really quick, because it's 30 seconds. I'm sorry my phone went off when the unopposed folks were reading. I was getting my timer ready so that Mr. Davis and I would have a timer up here. My failure. There's a team in place in the state government. We've got a great governor. We've got a great House. We have a great Senate, all of which are Republican right now, all of which are working together very, very well throughout the year, not just during the session. Over the years, I've been in the minority and the majority in the House, the minority and the majority in the Senate over the years. I've learned lessons, I've built relationships, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you. And David Davis.
My name is David Davis, and I am running for State Senate District 6 on the Libertarian Party line. I figure that maybe I can have a different take other than what the Democrats and Republicans are offering, and I would appreciate your vote this November. Thank you.
And thank you. So those were our two candidates for Senate District 6. And now we have our two candidates for County Board of Supervisors. This time around, Mike Anderson will go first.
All right. Service to others is important to me. This is a way to give back to the community that I was raised in, and I'm going to raise my family for 20 years. I want to be part of this. I'm a proven entrepreneur, business owner. Fiscal responsibility is a big thing. It's bigger than ever right now with interest rates and everything going up. I ask you for your vote. I appreciate your vote. Get out and vote November 8th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Dean Shetler.
My goal 8 years ago, and again 4 years ago, was to govern in a manner that would deliver all necessary county services and to the residents of Carroll County, and to do it in the most fiscally responsible manner possible. That remains my goal today. It is also my goal to be a good steward of the public trust and resources of Carroll County, and strive to maintain and improve the quality of life for all citizens of the county. It has been very important for me to provide accountable, reliable, dedicated leadership to make sure the best interests of the Carroll County citizens are well served. I would appreciate your vote. Please go to my website, shetlerforsupervisor.com, to know more about me. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank all of our candidates tonight for being here and for your thoughtful answers to some very challenging questions. I certainly want to thank all of you who are here in person, and I want to thank each of you who are listening at home. We want to thank everyone who has submitted a question. We certainly appreciate our friends at Carroll Broadcasting for broadcasting and helping us get this information shared. And Hubert Hageman, you've done a great job as timekeeper. Thank you for that. I do want to quickly introduce the Chamber of Commerce and the Carroll County Growth Partnerships Legislative Committee, and those individuals are Joel Lundstrom, John Brocklesby, Hubert Hageman, Mike Pogge-Weaver, Jean Ludwig, Rick Hunsacker, Dr. Casey Berlow, Ed Smith, and myself, and it's a pleasure to serve you in this role. Thanks again for the questions. If we did not get to your question, I know that each of these candidates will listen. Contact them, and they will hear your question and they will answer you. So thanks again for coming, and please get out and vote on Tuesday, November 8th. Thank you and good night.